Joe Biden has created a disaster in Afghanistan. A Republican president would never have let this happen. At least, that's what a lot of people are saying right now. Every person saying this is at least one of a fool, a hypocrite, and a liar. Many are all three, especially any pundit or ex-military you hear blame Biden for what's going on. Afghanistan was always going to end like this. This was knowable not long after the invasion, when the actions of Republican President George W. Bush made it clear that the mission was not to generate security for Americans, but to milk the American taxpayer for money for the benefit of the military, defense contractors, and the rest of the government machine. If you're still in denial about this, wake the fuck up. It's not the government that's the problem. It's you. They can't do a damn thing that you don't let them get away with. These scumbag Republican congressmen who have allowed this farcical and deadly extraction of wealth from the American people to continue unabated for 20 years are getting voted for by somebody, and it isn't the Democrats. It isn't leftists. It's not progressives. It's you, conservatives. This is what you've been conserving. And who's been encouraging the crooked politicians you support to continue this waste? That's right, the military. Your favored politicians are corrupt, and your so-called heroes have cheered it on. You'll note that the only thing Biden did that our treasonous current and former military personnel praised was drone striking at least 3 people who worked for the US alongside 6 children, a distraction at best, and more likely an opportunistic disposal of inconveniently knowledgeable former assets. Sure, some are crying crocodile tears about Americans left behind, but they've had 2 decades to take a stand against this evil, and they never did, until now, when it's suddenly popular with conservatives. Many people are expressing outrage that Biden has allowed over a dozen young Americans to die. Are you kidding me? You care now, but not for the last nearly 20 years and thousands of deaths? All while it has been made clear that the role of the US military is not to serve the American people, but to serve the government, and to function as a conduit through which money can be laundered from the pockets of taxpayers into the pockets of defense contractors, and from there back to military and other government officials. To some extent, I blame the people who died. They chose to join the corrupt and unconstitutional military. If it somehow wasn't before, it's become even more obvious over the past 20 years that joining the military is simply placing your life in the hands of a government that does not care about you and will go so far as to happily sacrifice you to manipulate voters. But for the most part, these soldiers were young and foolish, so I do have a bit of empathy for them. More than I blame them, I blame their parents. And if you're a conservative and you never spoke out against the military, I blame you. Because it's you who has been pushing the lie that joining the US military is noble. It's you who over and over programmed the minds of children with the lie that the US military serves the people. It does not. It serves the government, and it's just as evil as the rest of it. So many conservatives love to venerate the right to bear arms in the Second Amendment while ignoring the reason it's there. A well-regulated militia is necessary to the security of a free state because a state with a large and powerful military or police cannot be free. The government was never supposed to be allowed to have this large standing army, because it was inevitable it would lead to both the police state that, until it began affecting them personally, conservatives have cheered on, as well as the corrupt military boondoggles that you are unwilling to recognize no matter how many years pass and how large the mountains of evidence pile up. I want to be clear, I myself have not always been faultless in this regard. I was wrong about some things when I was young. I'm sure I'm still wrong about things now. The most important step is to stop blaming anyone else and accept that you personally have been wrong, that you have supported evil, and that it must stop now. Vote the Republican congressman out. If you can't stomach the Democrats having control of Congress, start now with primary efforts so you have someone hopefully not evil to vote for next year. But don't you dare yet again vote for any of the scum who have propagated this crime. And stop listening to the dirtbag conservative commentator class who focus on making you feel good at the cost of everyone's liberty. They don't care about what's right, they never have, and they never will. Any pundit who has lacked the balls to confront you with the truth that the fundamental problem with Afghanistan was not the strategy and the top brass, but the nature of military itself and the conservative attitude toward it will never be honest with you. Their careers are built on leading you to be outraged at your political opponents, galvanizing support for your so-called political allies who endlessly betray you. As something of a postscript, if there are any progressives happening to listen to this, you're probably feeling pretty smug right now. Well, wipe that smile off your face. You almost certainly spent the 2000s mindlessly repeating the nonsensical "no blood for oil" chant. This was never about extracting money from pathetic Middle Eastern economies. It was always about milking the most powerful economy in the world, the American one. By mindlessly screeching a lie of your own, you helped conservatives stay comfortable doing the same.